Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video tutorial. This will be another board, I think the third last board on the same direction cannons in dubious positions and how to attack them. I've liked this series personally. I've liked this series quite a bit, and I hope you do the same. So without further ado, let us begin. Central cannon, same direction cannons. Red goes for the foul chariot. Black goes for the deferred chariot variation at this point in time. P7 plus 1. Since black pushed P7 plus 1, red will usually do the same so that this horse can be activated and limit the possibility of black developing the horse as a proper horse. In this board, black could play C2 plus 4 very early on. This would be a targeted approach, discouraging H8 plus 7 from happening, or C2 equals to 3, or even C2 equals to 7 would be possibilities. Red will go ahead after pushing the 7th pawn by developing his left horse as a proper horse. Now, at this point in time, this would be the dubious move. And this move is dubious because black's right flank was not developed. Now, the sound move at this point would be to play h2 plus 3 to develop this flank and to give the center more support. Now, it follows that if h2 plus 3 were played, let's see, for example, h2 plus 3 were played. If red tried to play h7 plus 8, black could always develop this chariot, this chariot r9 plus 1, or play c2 equals to 7 for further development. Now, the resulting position would be one of the trending or commonly played opening lines, which are considered tabia for this opening variation. So R9 plus 1 was played in this board, and this will be the topic of discussion or the dubious position for this board. Now, at this point in time, we will be looking at 3 different counters that were mentioned in the book. But before we continue, now the 3 counters are H8 plus 7, R2 plus 4, and P3 plus 1. Now, before we continue, H7 plus 6 would not be a good idea at this point, even though red would hope to be able to play P7 plus 1 to dislodge this cannon and force it over here, or even capture the central pawn. Because if this move were played, black could immediately play R9 equals to 4 to threaten the horse, forcing it to move, and red could develop his horse as need be, when red would not have gained anything for his efforts. If C8 equals to 7, black would have C2 equals to 3. So, in comparison, red will fall behind in the development of his left flank. So h7 plus 6 is not a viable variation. So let us go to variation 1, h7 plus 8, which black could play the horse to external root file, but this approach has been suggested to be overly dogmatic. Now, black was still concerned with h2 plus 3 and decided to play h7 plus 8. Now, this is not a good idea, because instead of playing h2 plus 3, black could now play h2 plus 1 to develop this horse as an edge horse, and by doing so, the red horse cannot capture this pawn because it will now be guarded by this horse. And red will lose focus in his attack, or the direction of his attack. He would have to make immediate plans to, or he would have to alter his plans immediately. So let's say if red tried to play r9 plus 1, p9 plus 1, so to try to storm this file, and also have the option of c9 plus 3, black would simply link his chariots up in preparation. p9 plus 1, r9 plus 5, and black would immediately offer a trade of material with h1 plus 2. Now, the chariot cannot capture the horse because it is guarded by this cannon. r9 plus 3, and after trading chariots, it follows at this point in time, black would be considered to have the advantage, because black could continue with r2 plus 4, r2 plus 6, or h2 plus 4, because now this very important line is controlled by black. Black could now have seized and commanded the initiative and it should have an easier time ahead. So variation A, h2 plus 1, variation A, h7 plus 8 will be countered by black's h2 plus 1. In variation B, r2 plus 4. Now, red advances the chariot to the riverbank. Now, this is not a very efficient move and would not have any major impact on the game, because before red can play p3 plus 1 to trade pawns, black will play c2 equals to 7 to attack the elephant, forcing it to move to edge file. Now, if red retreated one intersection to try to capture the cannon, p7 plus 1 will protect the cannon, because the chariot at this point would not have blocked the elephant from capturing the pawn. So after this, red will play r1 plus 1 to link both chariots up, and this is very key. This is a very key point for black. h7 plus 8 to attack the horse, and black could offer a pseudo sacrifice by offering to trade away the chariots, trade this chariot away first. Now, red will usually have to accept. Now, if he played r2 equals to 4, black could counter with r equals to 6 to continue his chase, and if red still did not want to trade material, he would have lost the initiative, because black would now have positioned his chariots at a very good line, and then black could always continue trying to force a trade of chariots. So red would not benefit from this situation, and that is why red will usually accept the trade, after which, let's say red captured, the chariot would now move back to his second file, and that is why I said that earlier this will be a pseudo sacrifice. So red will gain back lost material, but in this sequence of events, black would now have a rather desirable position, because first of all, this chariot being placed at this position would deny the red chariot from being developed as a file chariot. Also, the black cannon would now have limited the development of this horse, and red's horse at this point would have not many good places to go. And if we captured the central cannon, red would have wasted too many moves just moving the horse to sacrifice for the black cannon, which had only made one move. So this would result in a loss of initiative, and black would now have gained tempo and seized the initiative away from red. So the suggested move, or the best counter for red at this position, would be to play p3 plus 1 immediately. This was a beautiful sacrifice, and although it did not, it would seem to go against conventional wisdom, but it was the most potent attack that red could master. Okay, black would usually accept, and the chariot would charge across the river, preparing to play r2 equals to 3 for again a pseudo sacrifice or trade of material. At this point in time, things will become more complicated. Two subvariations were discussed. Subvariation A, p7 plus 1, subvariation B, h2 plus 3. Now, it would be an extremely bad idea to play h7 plus 6 at this point in time, because the chariot would simply play r2 equals to 4, forcing the horse across the river, and red would now capture the central pawn since the other horse had not been developed. And red would have consolidated his defense at this point in time to have the obvious initiative. Once the advisor was raised, this chariot cannot cross to the other flank and will be limited to this flank, which he will have to compete with the red chariot. And the black pieces, since the cannon had moved, it would not be a good idea to capture the elephant, and this horse would not be able to do much either. And perhaps the best move, or most viable move, would be the cannon, but again, it would not be able to do much, and he would have to fear the h7 plus 6 by red, and black would have to find time to develop his right flank, so red would have the obvious initiative. So that's why h7 plus 6 is not a good idea. And let us go to the first sub-variation in the book. In p7 plus 1, red would play r2 equals to 3. Black would protect his horse because black would have the black cannon was now guarding the pawn. But red was more than prepared, and he would advance his horse to attack. Now this is a very powerful and aggressive move, sacrificing the horse in this manner. c8 equals to 3. Now black would now target the elephant and the horse and prepare to gain material, forcing the horse back. r9 equals to 8 to chase away the cannon, and red would play r8 plus 8 to threaten the horse, and also with seal off this entire flank. There are two major black pieces over here, which has been sealed off by one red piece, and so we will have the obvious initiative at this point in time. So red would have an overwhelming advantage, and that is why p7 plus 1 is not a good idea. What about h2 plus 3? Black tries to mobilize his right flank, as can be seen if we were to compare with this situation. So in the second variation, black would play h2 plus 3 to try to mobilize his right flank. But in doing so, this horse would now be under attack. Black would have wasted one move and to move the chariot to protect the horse. And red will simply capture the pawn that crossed the river. Now this is a very concise and no-nonsense counter by red. Now, h7 plus 6 will not be a good idea at this point because black would immediately retreat his cannon to his third rank and be prepared to play c2 equals to 7 and storm this file. r6 plus 7. Red would sacrifice material. Black would play r1 equals to 2, but again, red would now attack this file. Black would sacrifice material to counter-attack. The losses that red would have sustained would have outweighed the gains that he had. So in comparison, h7 plus 6 would not be such a good idea. And that is why r3 minus 2 will be a concise, no-nonsense counter that is advocated. Seeing that there's not much to be done by keeping the cannon on this rank, black will retreat the cannon. Now at this point in time, h3 plus 4 will be, this is a very key move for red to try to maintain the advantage. Now with this move, it would be a bad idea to play h7 plus 6 because of the cannon pin. Now r3 equals to 2 would also not be a good idea, as red tried to move his chariot away from black c2 equals to 7, because red would have wasted some moves over here. Black would have simply played h7 plus 6. Now red will play h7 plus 6 also. h7 plus 8 would not be a good idea because of black's h7 plus 6, but by now the horse would threaten the chariot, and there's also the threat of capturing the elephant. So either way, now if red played r2 equals to 3, black will counter with a very vicious c5 equals to 7 for the double cannons to attack the elephant over here. So red will be in all sorts of trouble. So that is why h7 plus 6 is not a good idea, because this red will want to prevent or discourage black from playing h7 plus 6 also. 1 equals to 2, c8 equals 7, and black will now have mobilized all these major pieces. Black can also offer to trade off chariots with r9 equals to 8. Either way, black will gain a state of confrontation, and he can be fairly satisfied with this position. So r3 equals to 2 is not a good idea, and the best move would be to play h3 plus 4, so that when black plays c2 equals to 7, red will counter with h4 plus 3. This is a very, very stubborn counter, and a very powerful one at the same time, because now the the horse will be threatening the black chariot. Black will usually play r9 equals to 8. R1 equals to 2 would not be a good idea because red will protect the cannon, offering a trade of chariots, which black would obviously refuse, but in doing so, red will now attack his very vulnerable right flank. So R1 equals to 2 is not a good idea. It will not be as good as R9 equals to 8. Red will develop his left flank. Black could do likewise. Now, A4 plus 5 is not a good idea because red would be prepared to play C8 equals to 6 to trade cannons, and black's attack or any attempts at counter-attacking would be snuffed. R1 equals to 2. Again, red would play C8 equals to C8 plus 6 to pressurize this entire flank, and black would usually opt to change formations for the time being. Now, black could choose c5 equals to 4 or c5 equals to 6, but c5 equals to 4 would be the better counter in this situation, because if c5 equals to 6 were played, red would charge the center, and red would simply threaten to checkmate with h3 plus 5. So h3 plus 5, if followed by h7, h5 plus 7 would be a checkmate, or threat for kill, forcing the cannon away. So the chariot will still be protected. 2 plus 1, 3 plus 3, check, forcing the cannon to block, capturing the cannon, preparing to storm the center, etc., protecting the horse. And although red had sacrificed material, his attack down the center was simply very ferocious. The black cannon would have blocked or prevented the elephants from linking together, and if any of the advisor were moved, black would lose the cannon. If chariot retreated, black would lose the black horse. So either way, red's offensive is very ferocious, and black would have a hard time. So that is why c5 equals to 6 would not be as good as c5 equals to 4. And after this move was made, since the red cannon will not be able to do much, red will usually play c8 minus 2 to attack the central file. Both colors will be pestering each other, but red has the slight advantage. Now, at this point in time, this would be an ideal situation for red. Now, if let's say black tried to continue with r8 plus 1, red could always play c8 equals to 5, offering a trade of chariots and also threatening the black chariot. Okay, 7 plus 5. So if r equals to 7, c5 equals to 9. Again, the cannon will be threatening. This will be a discovered check, and black could lose the chariot. a7 plus 5 must be played, and red could play a very beautiful move of h3 plus 4, whereby this will be a fork in the sense that the chariot will now be attacking the cannon, and this horse cannot move even though it's protected by the chariot. If it moved, the cannon would be delivering a check, so red would have the advantage in this situation. The horse would also threaten to capture the cannon for a pell corner horse check. So in this situation, red would have quite a significant advantage. So a quick recap of this board. I will do it in the eyes of black. Okay, central same direction cannons, file versus deferred chariot variation, p7 plus 1, and this would be c2 plus 4, which is still considered okay. Red plays h8 plus 7, and this would be the questionable or dubious move. Now, 3 variations were discussed. The first would be h7 plus 8, the second r2 plus 4, and the third p3 plus 1, which would be red's best counter. In the first variation, h7 plus 8, and after black will counter with the edge horse, and after some maneuvering of the material, black will force a trade of chariots and command the important lines. Variation 2, R2 plus 4, variation B, sorry. R2 plus 4 would not be able to do much. C2 equals to 7 would prevent P3 plus 1 from happening and force the elephant to the edge file, and black could be faster in developing material. Initiate to 7, threatening the horse, and black could simply offer a trade of material. And this would be a pseudo sacrifice. Black would give back lost material and have a better positioning, limiting the development of the red pieces at the same time. Variation C, P3 plus 1 would be red's best bet. And R2 plus 6 would be played. Two sub-variations were discussed. P7 plus 1 and H2 plus 3. P7 plus 1 is not a good idea. And after trading material, red would have a significant advantage in terms of space. H2 plus 3 would be black's best bet for a stubborn counter, and there are many complicated variations. R2 equals to 3. Black could now retreat the cannon and attack this file in this manner. Red will counter very aggressively, and C5 equals to 4 to dislodge, forcing the cannon back. And if black continue with R8 plus 1, we would have a significant advantage. Now in this board, the key point to note was that R9 plus 1 was the result of a very dubious position, because red would not simply allow black to move the chariots to gain a favorable line at this point in time. And of the three variations, variation C, variation C, red would simply sacrifice or pseudo sacrifice his pawn to gain a very beautiful, nice position. So I hope you've enjoyed this short video that I've done, and if you do like the work that I've been doing, please do subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.